Hey everybody. So today I'm out here on a swing, which is kind of fun on our street. But I wanted to bring up a topic that it's kind of half covered by functional harmonics, which I've covered in the past on this channel. I will leave a link to a video that I made a while back down in the description, which can cover it better if you don't understand what functional harmonics is. But it's kind of half that. So yesterday I was having a conversation with my dad about vocabulary. And I'm not a big vocabulary fan. I don't like learning a ton of fancy new words. In my head last night, while talking about it, I was thinking, why can't we have one word that covers everything that we need to know? So why can't I say I'm hungry instead of I'm famished, or I'm peckish, or I'm starving? And that's when it hit me. I was thinking about a piano class I taught one of my students, and he picked up major and minor chords like that. And a couple weeks after starting chords, he understood every major and minor chord. He knew how to find them. I could just call out a random major minor chord, and he'd pick it up right away. It took him about a class and a half, and he covered every major and minor chord out there, which is a lot of my other students couldn't pick it up that fast. So, shout out to him. You know who you are. Anyway, so we started covering other chords. So once we got to 7th, 9th, 11th, 13th, 9, sharp 11, sharp 13, stuff like that, all the crazy extension chords, all the fun chords, he kind of slowed down a little bit. We're not going to get into that, but it got me thinking about what piano or guitar in this case, or bass, or any of these instruments that can play chords. Well, bass really is not a chordal instrument, but any of these instruments that play chords, what music would sound like if we didn't have chords. So if we played the same boring G major, D major, E minor, C major progression, or F major, A major, C minor, without adding a 7th or 9th or 11th or any of these extension chords, playing these same triads over and over again for every song, our music, of course, would sound boring, right? So I started thinking about, what if maybe vocabulary is the same way? Maybe if we didn't have all these extra words, if we had one word for everything, speech could get boring. I certainly do use words like starved occasionally. It's not like I say hungry every dang time. So, have multiple words for everything you're trying to say is helpful in certain cases. And that got me thinking about, musically, what would English be like in a musical sense? So we start out with our sentence, right? So being a sentence is just a structure. It's a structure of words that we put together in order to communicate what we're trying to say. And so what would our structure be? Well, our structure, in what I was thinking, was a chord progression. If you would have multiple chords that go together, flow together, fit together, and they tell you they communicate what you're trying to say in a musical sense. Which would mean that chords would be words, right? And this is getting into functional harmony. Functional harmony describes what each chord does in a sentence. The same way as, I talked about this in the other video, the same way that a noun is a person, place, or thing, and it describes what the word is doing in the sentence. Or an adjective describes he's running fast. Describes how the person is doing whatever they're doing. So the sentence I was using was, the car runs fast. In that sentence, the car would be the noun, a person, place, or thing. It would be an object. So it would be the object of the sentence. Runs would be a verb, because it's an action. It's running. And fast would describe how the word is, or how the car is running. So it would be the adjective. In the same way that, say, a tonic is the one chord, it tells you what key you're in. The dominant and the subdominant, or the subdominant and the dominant chords are there, and they want to pull back to the one chord. This functional harmonics is just building a musical sentence. So now that you've got these chords, you can build a sentence, right? But imagine playing these same boring chords every time, right? So that would be the same as me using the word hungry every time to describe being hungry. And yeah, I could totally use the word hungry every dang time, but it might get boring, and it might not describe how hungry I am, because there's a difference between me feeling like it could be good to eat versus me starving to death, right? There's a difference. And that's where I'm thinking that chord substitutions will come in. So being able to play the A minor 7 in place of the C major chord. So a C major chord is built up of the notes C, E, G, right? So what's A minor 7 built up of? A, C, E, G. The C, E, G are all in common. The only difference is the A minor 7 has that A note in there, which would be an added on note to that C major chord. So that means that you can then totally substitute that A minor 7 in for a C major chord. So being able to substitute that in, not only helps add to the sound, but it kind of can kind of change what other chords you use. So maybe you could substitute in a different chord for your G major chord based off of how that A minor 7 sounds. And being able to substitute like that is the same way that you're able to say, I am starving instead of I'm hungry. So the important part about speaking in English, I don't have a script in front of me right now, so I'm thinking right now, I've been an English speaker my entire life, so I've gotten used to being able to talk. I don't have to have something written in front of me to be able to say what I'm thinking. I have enough words in my vocabulary that I'm able to just think and describe what I'm thinking based off of the words I have in my head. And so that's where we need to be with our musical vocabulary. So being able to think of a sharp 11, sharp 13, or an A minor 7, sharp 11, sharp 13 chord, or an E flat major 11. Don't play that though, Adam Neely. Being able to think of a chord and all these different qualities, like the sharp 11, sharp 13, which I love the sharp 11, sharp 13. Those chords are awesome. But being able to think of those and use them in the right context is where we really get into the language side of music. Music is a language no different than, say, English or Spanish or Italian or German or Portuguese. All these different languages, you learn them, you learn some of the vocabulary in it, and once you learn to speak it well enough, you learn all the different contexts as to when you can use different words. So the difference between I'm hungry versus I'm starving to death. In the same way that you would learn that on a dominant chord you can throw in that 7th extension and it will pull you back to your tonic chord. And I think that's kind of something that you should really work on, that I wouldn't say necessarily jump into your first day of music, but being able to build up your musical or your chordal vocabulary and learn to use chords or different chords in different contexts like that. And this is kind of really fun, swinging. Never made a video while singing before like this. It's kind of cool. Should do this more often. But yeah, I'm gonna link the video to harmonics down below. You should check it out, and I totally encourage you to jump down this rabbit hole and try to learn how to use chords in a better sense, because it's a really fascinating idea. Anyway, that's it. See you guys.